the difference between how Japanese people and Western people view work. And the reason why we're talking about this is because there was a recent story in Japan about a JR driver who had to take a crap, like really bad, maybe like explosive diarrhea. We're 1 minute into the show, I've already said diarrhea, so it's going to be a good show. And he was driving the Shinkansen, the Japanese bullet train, which travels at 175 kilometers an hour on that point. I think max is out at 300 or something. And so he was like, Jesus, take the wheel. No, I'm kidding. He told an attendant, a different person on the train, please watch the train. I got to go. And he went and did his business and came back. And he was there for the next stop to stop the train and everything was fine. But the incident was reported, and then the driver got like in trouble. He had to like apologize because he had to take a crap. Now on the Twitterverse, there's initially after a while the Japanese side also kind of started to mirror the Western side of the response to this. But at first, the Japanese side was like, "Oh, what an asshole! He was negligent in his duties, and he should be punished." And it was like kind of like samurai culture response to him. Whereas the people on the Western side of Twitter were saying like, oh my God, one, JR is so stupid for only having one driver in the train with like hundreds of people on board. Like, how irresponsible are you? And two, that poor guy who had to take a crap and he got to apologize in the media for taking a crap. Standard, though, I think that it's not uncommon to see Japanese workers work 6-day weeks.
It's changed. Have you ever heard 働き方改革?
Changing the way that people work.
Right.
It's like a government program that's been going on for a couple of years.
Right. Yeah. So before, working for 6 days in a week is very common.
Yeah.
But people were, start getting sick of it.
Yeah, because when I first arrived in Japan 15 years ago, like all of my friends were like, oh my God, we work 6 days a week. You work 5 days a week? What's wrong with you kind of thing. It was like uncommon. And also Zangyo, overtime, was just like a thing that everybody just assumed that they had to do.
So law has been changed. We cannot work anymore over 10 p.m. So before it was normal to work even like after 10 p.m. But now the Japanese government gave their companies that we have to follow the rules, kind of rules.
But they also have the term black companies, and those companies just don't follow those rules.
Right. That's true.
Alex, briefly, can you talk about how Europeans or English people, because, England is not Europe anymore.
No, it never was. Never was. So what can you say, man?
Can you tell me, like, on the other side of the pond, how do you guys think about work?
I think we've got a very different attitude to the US.
Yeah.
Mainly because of probably the Victorian era, when, holiday weekends and things like that became a thing. People initially kind of went to seaside resorts and things like that to relax. Mm-hmm. Obviously, wealthy people used to go abroad to different countries and things like that. But there is a holiday culture. So when I started my first job, I used to work in an IT company in the UK. I think the base rate of holidays was 28 days.
In a year?
Yeah.
So, like, in Japan, they would normally have, I think, 10 on your first signing year. You get 10 days.
Yeah,
like
10.
What is it called? Nenkyu?
UQ?
UQ, yeah. So paid holiday. So we would get 28 as the basic. This is a like shinshain, like a new employee. And that would increase every year as well. So some people would be getting over 30, 40 days a year.
I hear like in France and stuff, it's not uncommon to see people take 2 months off.
Cool.
Yeah, sabbatical type leave. You could do things like that. I mean, people from Europe who travel to Japan, for example, I see a lot of them, working in travel and tourism, like German people taking off 3 weeks and doing like a long stint around Japan. And a lot of them work in IT and things like that as well.
Do you think that's because those industries are like profitable that they can do that?
I think it's because they're profitable and also they have to keep flexible to keep up with new innovations and things like that. So they're not stuck in the same business model all the time.
They want them to like go out there and see the world and get inspired.
And when they come back and are rested, you're more productive, right? You can do more, you can make more. And I think there isn't an idea of presenteeism like there is in Japan, maybe the US as well. It's like if you're the guy who's taken a holiday, you're lazy, you know what I mean? You're not working as hard as everybody else.
So even when you had like 10 days pay, vacation, did you use all of it?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Cool, because...
Natsuya, can you talk about that?
Because, myself, now I have like pay holiday for like 40 days, but I never used. I mean, I used only for a few days when I'm sick.
Right. So that's an interesting thing because in England we have sick leave as well. So you don't need to take your paid holiday, your annual leave.
Technically, in Japan, they have Byokyu, which they're supposed to use.
But you don't do it because it's like bad form to apply for it. So usually what you'll do is use like UQ, your actual allotted days off.
So what he's saying is that you'll use your holidays when you're sick instead of sick days. You're awarded sick days, but because most Japanese people are embarrassed to use them, they use their holiday days when they're sick.
Well, actually, if you go to the HR department in a company and say, I want Byokyu, you're going to have to give them a pretty good reason.
In my company, it's like, I have a fever. Don't come in today. Goodbye.
Well, that's the presenteeism thing, right? It's like you're inconveniencing everybody else, right? You know, you've not showed up at work, so you're not working. You know, there is a mentality of that still, even with this hatarakikata kaikaku, where they're trying to change the way people work. You know, people's behavior doesn't change just because somebody's introduced a new proposal or something like that.
Isn't that also why that they've introduced things like, you know, that these, like some companies have introduced policies that they have to take off like 5 days a month.
Yeah.
If they don't, they get in trouble.
Yeah, we do that. Yeah. So we have to force them to do it, otherwise they're not going to do it.
But then when they do it, they're happy that they've done it.
I think so, but I think the attitude to holiday time here is slightly different than it is in the West.
Okay.
So I've got a feeling that Japanese people don't necessarily know how to use holidays effectively.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you're saying, but can you elaborate?
Well, it's like if you're working, long hours, working very hard in a typical kind of office environment, and suddenly you've been made to have time off.
Yeah.
You're kind of exhausted from work, and you never spend any time at home anyway. So they just tend to stay at home and watch TV and stuff like that. Some people will get it together and, put a trip together or something like that. But because you can't take off many, many days in a row, it doesn't make it worthwhile to go on holiday somewhere.
And on top of that, if you do take for example, in your case, if you take 2 weeks off, your kids are probably still going to school.
Yeah. And they've also got bukatsu, the sports events, and like juku, the cram school.
So you're off, but they're not, so you can't take a family vacation. In Japan, if you have the highest sales, but you come to work consistently 15 minutes late every single day, they'll fire you.
Yeah, that's true.
You're the worst employee. Even though you have the highest sales, you have the most clients, most client satisfaction, but you come to work 15 minutes late every day, they'll fire you. That's
because you're not fulfilling your basic obligation. That's the most important thing, is the basic obligation to the company.
That's all, but that's the only thing. Those are the KPI that they could see.
Yeah,
the real easy things that the key performance indicators that they can see. Not only because I hang out at the I don't want to say top level, but the top level. I don't hang out with the employees that much, and so the amount of alcoholism, first of all, is incredible. Nothing happens in this country. It's kind of slowly changing, but nothing happens in this country until you've had drinks together. If you watch there's a documentary on Netflix called "The Toys That Made Us," maybe, or another documentary. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I know.
They were talking about Nintendo bringing Nintendo to the West when they first finally did this. And I think it was a Swedish guy that made this happen, but he had decided everything in a meeting with the executives. I think it was the first Nintendo. Don't quote me on this, but I think it was Nintendo. And they decided everything, and then they went out for drinks, and then they rediscussed everything, and that's when everything was actually decided.
Yeah,
was over the drinks. So the drinking culture in business, the kind of male-dominated culture in business. I don't meet any female business owners. None. We were a little bit more countryside than most places, but I don't know any female higher up people that are that are big in business.
I know a few, but they don't go drinking like that. Yeah, not often. Because they've gone and forged their own kind of way of doing business instead. So they've got a different network entirely.
Women network, maybe.
Yeah. Anyway, what were you asking me?
Actually, I want to ask Natsuki about kuroshi. Can you talk about that?
Kuroshi? What is kuroshi?
No, not kuroshi. What's it called?
Karoshi.
Karoshi is people die because they work too much.
Now, that's a Japanese word, and it really, maybe it happens in other countries, but it's really focused on in here in Japan. Can you give us a famous case of Dentsu? We're going to shit on you, Dentsu. Coming for you.
Dentsu one? It wasn't Karoshi, actually. Many people probably Karoshi in Dentsu, but the famous story was new employee girl suicide herself because maybe she was depressed from the work.
But she was working so hard.
Yeah, she was working so hard and she got depressed and she killed herself.
Yeah.
And that's become a huge society problem.
Yeah. I went to Dentsu once and they gave me a strawberry milkshake.
Strawberry milkshake.
That's their thing, apparently.
Really?
They give you a strawberry milkshake with cream on it as a
Welcome to
Welcome to
Dentsu.
They were like, "This is Dentsu's Dentor." Like, and I was like, "Okay."
Did you like
cool.
pull the curtain back and see all the slave shops in the background?
I saw lots of lights on the desks, desk lights, because they turn the lights out at whatever time, 10 p.m. or 9 p.m. or whatever, and everybody just turns the desk lights on and keeps going.
Oh
So,
wow!
but it's a massive building. It's huge.
Natsuki, let's talk a little bit about the thing that kicked off all of this was the Shinkansen, the bullet train driver. What's your opinion on that? Do you think that he was like a bad guy for going to take a poop, or do you think that he kind of? How do you feel about that?
No, I feel he's very sorry for him.
I feel sorry for him.
Yeah, because and then I watched the news and the daijin prime minister じゃなくて
Like the minister, yeah.
the minister of the
Transport.
transport said that he ordered I don't know the jail company to put some portable toilet in the
Yeah,
driver.
so their solution to this was not to have two drivers, which makes sense. Their solution to this was to make the driver's seat into also a toilet.
Yeah, but it's isn't it? No,
She said.
I feel I don't want to poo in somebody next to me. Do you understand what I mean? I wanted to go to toilet if I'm have stomach ache.
I'd quite like to take a shit while driving the Shinkansen. That would be pretty cool.
So
Lots of memory.
unfortunately, I wanted to link it before the show so we could watch it before we did the show. But there was this NHK special that came on in 2019, and it talks about it's on NHK World, and it talks about the Tokyo subway lines, and they literally like it's so intense what they do. The guys come in and they have to do a breathalyzer test upon entering work first. Then they remove their contact lenses and they have to wear glasses because they can't wear contacts while doing it. And then they have to empty out all of their possessions and then only have on them the things that they need for their job. Like, so they can't have their cell phone or anything like that. And these guys are so crazy, like trained, that like they tested them on TV. They put a piece of paper over the speedometer and they're asking the guys, these super otaku guys who are the drivers, right? They're like, how fast are you going? He's like, 35. And they move the paper, it's like 35 kph. And then wait. They have to be within, they can only be within, I think it's 10 seconds of the scheduled time. Like if they don't arrive at the next station, either like 10 seconds before, 10 seconds after, like in that buffer, they get fired.
No way.
Yeah. And like 3 weeks ago or so, there was a news where JR had to apologize for leaving the station 20 seconds early.
20
Right.
seconds.
They came out on the news and apologized like profusely for leaving the station 20 seconds early once.
So
I've actually had this conversation, the exact conversation with Josh before about making checklists at work. And I was telling him that like doctors, the smartest people in the world, they make checklists for surgery, and pilots also.
yeah, it comes from pilot
Yeah,
surgeon. I
because
found.
if you don't do the whole check, I mean, it seems really basic and stupid, but like every time that they do the checklist, they're always finding problems and whatever. It saves lives.
But that's what they do chore for Japanese companies, morning meetings.
Yeah.
It's like, who's present? What are you going to do today? Who is required for this task? And then when you finish the day, you do like Eigyo Nippo, whatever, Eigyo Nishi, and write a diary
Yeah.
of what you did that day and what you're going to do tomorrow, and do that process over and over again. And it's really frustrating to do, especially in Japanese, because it takes double the effort for a foreign person to do it. But if you do it over time, it actually becomes useful because you think, well, this is what I achieved today. This is what my goal is for tomorrow.
Well, we started doing that at our school. Shude, the end of the day meeting, we started doing that. Like, I was opposed to it because I think like those kind of meetings are stupid.
Yeah.
And I'm like, just do your job, guys.
Yeah.
But then when we introduced that, I think only a week ago, we started introducing that you could start to see like problems that are being solved by the communication that's happening at the end of work every day. Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I would, if I were to say, are my businesses very like Western or are they very Japanese? They're actually a fusion. I actually like certain practices from the Japanese working world. For example, all of the staff clean the office space and the every day is cleaning at the beginning of work. And why is that? It's because it teaches them the respect for the place of work.
Yeah.
Where in the West, like you'll just throw shit away, make a mess, like somebody else is gonna take care of that. It's
But
like
I think some people's houses in Japan are dirty because they can't be asked to clean their own house when they get home because they spend all morning cleaning workplace and then they get back home and they just don't want to do it.
probably
to
just
their own
dirty
house.
people in general.
Yeah. But
I mean, also another thing, like I really like this, but this is not for everybody. But like nomikai, like going out to drinks with your friends, in Silicon Valley, this happens a lot now where they'll like have a hard day and they'll all go out for beers. And when you're at that table, when you're having beers with each other, that's when ideas get born.
Yeah.
And you get that. They actually forced this to happen in the new Apple's One Infinite Loop like headquarters, where they only have one area where the people can eat. And so all of the employees from the entire facility, which is huge, by the way, all have to come to this. Now it's a little different, but when everything's over and everything's fixed, like they'll come and congregate in the one place, and it forces them to have chance meetings where ideas are born. All right, guys, if you guys at home want to know more specific things about work life in Japan, or maybe questions for myself or Natsuki or Alex, let us know in the comments section below. We are going to continue to do videos this style. We kind of changed from a couple episodes ago, where we have like a TikTok schedule where we have the full episode that comes out. I think American Saturday. I think it is, because I think it comes out on Sunday here. Whatever, it comes out on the weekend, and then the highlight reel comes out in the middle of the week. So it's going to be like these 2 episodes. So don't be confused by that. Tell us what you guys think about that. If you like the highlight reel, if you don't like the highlight reel, if you don't care, just let us know, because it does take extra time to edit them. But sometimes you guys tell us that you have a short period of time you want to listen to the episode. So it's going to be like the highlights of the episode in under about 8 minutes. So
nice.
Let us know. Also, for those people who are listening to the podcast, make sure that you rate us on Apple Podcasts. I think it is, Mr. Josh there. Give us a rating, give us a review. And if you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to us to never miss an episode. If you guys have any suggestions for future episodes, just let us know. That's been today's show. So we'll see you guys next week. Bye, everybody.
I'm going to take a shit now. Bye.